On Tuesday night, there was a blowout sale at the mall. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, the roof collapsed. So that's the scenario. Six victims were able to make their way from the mall out to here, and they had various injuries. But this thing was frozen shut, so they couldn't get out. What our team did was they came on Wednesday, they did what we call a reconnaissance of the whole building, but just for show purposes, we didn't start our rescue then. Normally, we would start our rescue then, right? But we set up our camp, we had something to eat. Normally, we would go right to work. We didn't do that for that. So when these doors were bust open, we had all heck broken loose. Somebody went running for the field and they got tackled, and that's crazy stuff.
Was that you?
No, she's back here, yeah. We had someone who was drunk, lots of stuff. So 6 people in here, come on this way.
That's great.
This hole was not here, it was created. So they found the 6 patients, they opened up this door, and you can see down farther that floor is collapsed. And if you step right here, it feels like it's going to collapse because it is. It's all been undercut here, so if you all stood there, you would be in the basement very quickly. So they couldn't go here, so they sent a dog in here. The dog searched all these rooms. They started to hear pounding on this wall, and that door over there beside the drinking fountain, the fire drinking fountain, was open. So he went in here, and he hit on a patient there. There was actually 2 patients, okay? So
they actually had to cut it. You can see the cut that they made along here. When they came in, one of your classmates was sitting over here as one of the victims that they had to come see.
the patient with asthma right here was really in trouble. Yeah. I guess I could have come through there, right? Anyway, so they had to, Brad said, chop that wall, cut a hole through that metal plate. They came to this patient, they sent the dog on, but this is a simulated ceiling collapse, so they could not go beyond here to the patient that was over in the south side of the room there. So they had to build up a shore, which is that structure you see there. All right?
Exactly, okay.
So then once the shore was there, this is now a safe area. They could come through here, and they found the patient here. Okay? This was called Payless shoes. So come on.
You'll see when we get in here, this is actually a closed space. It's a door where all the markings that we talked about here with the orange, when they're in the exercise, when they see the orange, they know they can't go through the doors. They're considered not there. So they don't look to go through them. We use them as controllers to move you guys in and out, but it's out of play for them, so they're not allowed to use that door. So they came into this room, and they ended up going into this room, and you'll see what we ended up doing to them is that we had one of your classmates down in a tunnel underneath the school, just breathing, and the dogs basically picked up on that hit. So the dog is trained to kind of mark, ended up jumping, let the handler know that there was somebody on the floor. The rescuers lifted up the floor, and there she was. I can't remember who was it.
Jessica.
Was it Jessica? So Jessica was with me. When they were under the floor, they actually sent the dogs. We won't go under the floor. You will be able to pop it up and have a look. They sent the dogs under there, and they found another classmate of yours way on the other side of the school, under the stool.
Yeah.
That we were sitting in. The dog ended up picking it up. We had a little hole drilled here. The dog picked up the scent. The rescuers were able to open this floor. When they found the other one, they sent the dog through. There's tunnels all that go under the school and all the way to the far classroom. The dog ended up finding someone on the far side. So the rescuers couldn't go through this door. You see it marked in orange. They actually had to go down with all their tools all the way across under the school, and it actually gets a lot shallower than that. Crawl with all their tools all the way to the other side, and you'll see how far it is. I'm going to close the door. Actually, just be careful when you guys go around here, okay? And just go straight through, and then we'll talk on the other side. Perfect. So what ended up happening was, there was a patient that we talked about. You saw the little tunnel, and all the way under the patient was actually right under the floor right here. And when the rescuers were in there, rescuing that patient, had to bring them out on a board, basically, all the way under the school, back up through that hole, back up through what we saw. We were sitting in here, he started tapping. They recognized somebody was up here. They ended up having to cut open this floor and come up through the floor. He ended up getting put on a board, back down, all the way into the school, all the way up, and all the other side. After the exercise went on for a while, we decided we were going to let them cut a hole in the wall to make it easier to get patients out. They would have done that normally, but we didn't let them initially, just because we want them to do that. But you can see how hard that was. How much fun was that?
That was awesome.
Yeah. So after that, when they were sitting in here, the recon team came in and they noticed there was some knocking on that wall. So we came through there, but remember, they had to go under the school, they come up through the floor, they see another patient, they bring them down, and then they hear somebody through that wall. So then what they do is they end up going over here and they start smashing up that wall. And who was somebody else with me on the other side? Here? No, must be somebody else in the group. So somebody else was injured right here. They ended up coming through the wall and brought her out. By that time, we gave them that door, so they were able to go out that door and to medical at that point. So now they've kind of opened up parts of the school that they can get through. Come on through here. Perfect. Looking okay? Yeah. So when we got to this point, this is what they came across. And as you can see, these are not small pieces. These weigh about 5,000 pounds each. 5,000 pounds, 5,000 pounds, and there's a slab that goes all the way. This is actually completely down. They could not get through this. So as you saw all their equipment that they were lifting the car with, that's what they did here. They had to lift it and then pull patients out from underneath there, and then they themselves had to crawl. So they sent the dogs in. The dogs went and hit. Sorry? So they sent the dogs in to see if there was other people. They hit on other people, so they knew they had to go through there. Okay? There was actually a victim that was in there that we considered a black victim, so that it died. RCMP had to come in and do their photographs, so they actually came in from your town or the town site 3 Hills, did the photographs, ended up having to remove the body, which wasn't, it was a mannequin, or no, it was somebody else.
It was Maggie.
It was Maggie. So she had to be brought out because again, it impedes the rescuers. The rescuers still have to get through to get to the other side to get everybody else. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll move around to the other side because we won't go under there, but we'll move around to the other side so you can see kind of what we're looking at. So the two patients we had were actually right under here. And so they were screaming. Once they kind of did this lift, once they kind of pivoted, you can see it was just pivoted. They sent the dogs through. They hit on the two victims that were there, and then the dogs ended up searching the rest of the areas here because this was the big area. We created this, we brought this in, we had to drive a big bulldozer right down the hallway here to drop these things off. And I'll have to drive another big dozer to get them out because you can't leave them in the school. So we'll end up doing that today, probably just before we leave tonight. So once they rescued the two victims there, the rescuers could crawl through here and gain access to this whole side, which you see as we're moving towards the gym, which is the last piece, which is where you guys were all today. So this was a quote-unquote brewery that people were trapped in and ended up just drinking alcohol. One of the scenarios that we had was when the dog came searching through here, the dog came across a chemical that was unknown to the handler and to rescues. And when the dog came out, even though it was a simulation, so that it wasn't, we didn't do anything with the dog, but we just told the handler, the dog is acting unwell, a little bit sleepy, a little bit lethargic, and is salivating from the mouth. So they had to take the dog to medical to get checked out, with the issue being that they should recognize that one, they're going to have to start treating the dog, and we treat the dog very similar to the way we treat patients, A, B, C's, airway, breathing, circulation. And after that, they needed to recognize that there's clearly a chemical in this room that can harm the rescuers. And so the hazmat team with all their monitors had to come in this room and just make sure this room was clear. It ended up just being this bottle of bleach that you can see there that the dog got contaminated with and became a little bit altered, but otherwise was okay. At that point, the rescuers got the people out and through that door. So this is an old coal chute for the school. And so what they used, they pried this off, and this is the entranceway for the team. So the team had to bring, again, everything through this little hole down into the basement. They didn't have the access that we do. They had to go through all this. And as you can see, they started the process of trying to make this bigger. This is 50-year-old, probably 7-year-old concrete.
What tool were they using, Brad?
That, I don't know. I was actually on Bravo, so I'm not sure what they ended up using. But as you can see, they didn't get through it. They were able to get all the stuff that they needed, and apparently they were able to bring all of you guys out. So I didn't see a lot of the Delta rescues, but apparently they were just bringing people up on the board and got them up that way. Well, and that's exactly what happened. So they build these so you get a little bit of resting period. They can kind of put something on here and kind of clicks in and holds, and then you move it up to the next and into the next one. But you can imagine, like...
It makes a lot more sense because they kind of like throw you up,
Yep.
and then you stop.
And then you stop and you go up and down. And so it's uncomfortable being on a board, especially when you're strapped in. You can't move your arms, you can't
And you start
protect
to
yourself.
slide down.
You start to slide down. And think about how exhausting it is. Imagine if you had to move somebody holding their hand, like just holding their dead weight, moving it up like this, and you're essentially not lifting with your whole body, you're doing it with an arm, right? And you're doing that over and over and over, and you're crawling through tunnels, and you're digging them out, and you're getting them out of vehicles. You can see why these guys are exhausted at the end of the day, because it's a very, very difficult day. Let's move through there. So they came down here, they got the 2 patients, brought them out, they busted open that hole, they brought the 2 patients out of here. The team was actually doing very well, and so we just made them, we hadn't initially designed this as a structural collapse, what we told them it was, which this takes a lot of time. Again, where do these posts come from? Through the coal chute, down the slide, in through the tunnel, out through the door, up through the stairs, around the corner, through these walls, into here. And you can see how long they are. That's not an easy maneuver to get it all in. The best part was, I don't know if you've seen this from the other side.
No.
You should go look at it
Yeah.
from the other side. They thought they heard something, which they didn't, because this is a controller access room, that they thought they heard something on this side, and so they blew it open. And then they stuck their head in, and I was standing there because it kind of blew out on the other side, and I was going, well, I'm not sure what you're doing in here. And so, does somebody want to stick their head in there and just let me know what they see? Sure. It's fine. Why don't you go ahead?
This is the girls' bathroom, isn't it?
This is the girls' bathroom.
We are through a urinal.
Her head literally came out of a urinal.
That's awesome.
So they were like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, you're coming out of a urinal. And to be honest, because we were here for almost 5 days, this is where we were using the urinals to pee. And so you can see they stopped that breach. They decided it wasn't worth it to go through. But you can see all the porcelain and everything that's splashed. So why don't we go around? We'll have a quick peek. So they weren't supposed to go there, and now you know why. Through to move you guys through, and to move you into here. And as I was walking through, suddenly a big sledgehammer came through, and you can see somebody stuck their head out of the urinal right here. Right?
Really lucky that you weren't using it.
They weren't supposed to go. And as you can clearly see, they basically stopped coming through. Somebody came through, realized they came through a urinal, and didn't want to do that anymore. So they ended up going back. So